Hi there, I'm Aki from Aki Gaming, and welcome to another episode on Fire Emblem Heroes Spotlight. In this episode, we'll be looking at the 4 exclusive heroes chosen by you through the Choose Your Legend event at the start of the year. It's been a while I did a full banner review, but I just couldn't help it to share how awesome is these 4 brave heroes. Let's not wait any longer and introduce them. First, voted as second place in the women's category, the brave princess, Lucina. Wielding a weapon entrusted by the people from another world, Lucina joins the fight with a lance instead of a falchion. Her base stats total is 157. If adding in her weapon and its effect, the total rating would be at 176. Lucina has very high speed at 36, followed by her attack at 34. Lucina wields the weapon Gear Skugel that has a might of 16. It also grants her a +3 on defense. Not only that, Gear Skugel can even boost nearby allies, which deals physical damage, a +3 on attack and speed during combat. It's like a weapon with gold emblem, but better if you are running a team of physical damage dealer. Ether is the special that Lucina has. It resolves combat as if foes suffered a -50% on defense and resistance, and she recovers HP equal to half damage dealt with a cooldown of 5. The only special which comes with 2 abilities. Now, let's look at her passive skills. In slot A, Lucina has Sturdy Blow. It grants her a +4 on attack and defense during initiation. A good passive to reduce damage from counter-attacking and boosting her damage at the same time. As for her passive C, she has Drive Speed, a skill that grants allies within 2 spaces a +3 on speed during combat. Similar to Spur Speed but wider area of effects. And the best part, Drive Speed stacks with her weapon's ability, which means allies within 2 spaces would get a +6 in speed. Whoa, follow-up attack just got a whole lot easier with her around. In terms of weakness, Lucina has very low resistance. At only 19 points, she will fall prey to tome users, especially if they are green. But fortunately, her speed is very high, so the chances of getting hit twice is very low. Next, let's have a look at how could we make the Brave Princess even stronger. For her weapon, we will stick to Gear Skugel as it's one of the best supporting lance weapon you could ask for. As for her assist, I would recommend to give her reposition so she could put herself in front of an ally and counter with her high speed. Moving on, if you are planning to get a higher max score in Arena, you could keep her special, Ether. As an alternative, you could give her Moonbow for that quick cast. Now, to her passives. For slot A, a good passive for her would be Fury. With that, she will have 53 attack, 39 speed, and 33 defense, which is pretty terrifying. It's even scarier if she has a speed boon. By pairing it with her default special Ether, she doesn't have to worry too much about the side effect of Fury. How about passive B? With the self-damaging effect of Fury, it's easy to run skills such as Desperation or Vantage. But on a personal preference, I would go for Vantage, especially if she has Ether. Seeing your HP instantly recovered after a Vantage special is amusing. If you would prefer a more defensive approach, you could let her inherit Renewal so she is ever ready to tank. As for her slot C, just stick to Drive Speed, unless you want to sacrifice a Deltia for Drive Attack. It's better just to use both of them in the team. +12 attack and +6 speed on a physical unit? What else can you ask for, right? How about seals? It's flexible, but an offensive seal will be preferred. The preferred IV for Brave Lucina, a +speed would be the best, followed by +attack. As for Bane, it's best to have a -resistance. Next, the second place in the men's division, the Brave Lion, Roy. Just like his father Eliwood, Roy is ready to dash into combat, this time on horseback. His base stats total is 154. If adding in his weapon and its effect, the total rating would be at 173. Roy has one of the highest speed among cavalries at 34, followed by his attack at 32. He wields the blazing Durandal that has a might of 16. The sword also grants him a +3 on attack, making it a total of 19. Not only that, It even helps him trigger his special skill more quickly if his attack is higher than foes. Roy's special is Gale Force. It allows him to make another turn if he initiates an attack. Pairing it with his weapon, trigger this special every other turn is possible. Now let's look at his passive skills. In slot A, Roy has Steady Blow. It grants him a +4 defense and speed during initiation, a passive that reduces damage from counter attack and boosting his chance to make a follow-up attack at the same time. As for his passive in B, he has Desperation that enables follow-up attack occur immediately after his attack with the condition that his HP is 75% or less. Roy doesn't have any major weakness, but if you really have to pick one, that would be his mediocre defensive stats. With 26 defense and 24 resistance, he's just not that cut out to take hits, especially from brave weapons. Next, let's look at some recommended skill inheritance for Roy. For his weapon, we will stick to his default. Why change if it's good, right? As for his assist, you could either give him reposition or drawback, but I personally would go for reposition for melee. Another alternative would be Ardent Sacrifice, so he gets to be in desperation range in one heal. Next, his special. You could leave Gale Force as it is since he can cast it quite frequently due to Blazing Durandal. Besides that, Gale Force increases your arena score too because of his high SP cost. Alternately, you could give him Ether or Luna. Now to his passives. For slot A, a good recommendation would be Swift Sparrow. It grants him a +4 on attack and speed during initiation, making it easier to gain trigger charges with higher attack and speed to follow up. If going full offense is your cup of tea, you could give him Life and Death instead. With that, he will have 56 attack and 39 speed, but in return, his defense will be paper thin. You could also give him Fury to boost his overall stats. His passive B, Desperation, will remain unchanged. As for slot C, it's rather flexible. You could give him something that suits your style of play. If you are only using him in Horse Emblem, then one of those cavalry skill would be fine. How about CYLs? It's also flexible. Either a plus attack, speed, or quicken pulse would be preferred. The recommended IV for Brave Roy? A plus speed would be the best, followed by plus attack. As for Bane, it's best to have a minus resistance. Now, the most popular female character in the poll, the brave lady, Lyn. Followed the footsteps of her father, Lyn picked up horse riding and archery to defend the people she cares. Her base stats total is 149, which is slightly higher than the average bow users. By combining her weapon's might and effect, her rating would be at 166. She has very high speed at 35, followed by her attack at 33. Lyn has one of the 8 legendary weapons from Alibear, called Mulagir. Besides having the usual effectiveness against flyers, it also grants her a +3 on speed and the ability to nullify bonus on Tome user during combat. In simple terms, all the Horn Fortify buff a Tome user has will not be added in when going against her. I guess magic might no longer be everything when she's on the field. Her special Draconic Aura grants a +30% on attack with a trigger count of 3. Unlike the usual hero that comes with only 2 passive skills, Lyn has all 3 by default. Let's look at her passives now. In slot A, Lyn has Swift Sparrow, a passive that grants her a +4 on attack and speed during initiation. With that added stats, she will have 51 attack and 42 speed when initiating an attack. A follow-up attack is nearly certain. Impressive. In passive B, Lyn has a new skill that cannot be inherited by others, which is Sake's Blessing. It has the ability to disable sword, lance, and axe foes from making a counter attack. Popular orange counter heroes such as Hector, Ryoma, Camus will be rendered useless against her B skill. But do take note that Noe's Lightning Breath still works against her. Anyway, in passive C, she has another new skill called Attack Smoke that inflicts a -7 attack on foes within 2 spaces of target through their next action after combat. Not only she could take down her main target but also weaken her enemies. Is there a word better than OP to describe her? Lyn has a fair share of weakness too. First, she doesn't have high defense. With only 18, she is an easy target for brave weapons. Second, as a horseback unit, she's weak against weapons such as Wolf Tome, Zambato, and Rider Bane. So, it's best to avoid any confrontation against them. Now, let's look at some skill recommendation for Lyn. In my opinion, Lyn's default skill are good as it is, so not much changes needed on her. If you are looking for a weapon other than Mulagil, you could always go for Brave Bow Plus. It allows her to attack twice disregarding her speed. Besides that, if her speed is 5 points higher than foes, she gets to make a follow-up attack too, which resulting in 4 hits. As an alternative, you could let her inherit Fire Sweep Bow. This weapon prevents foes and yourself from making a counter-attack, suitable for players who like to kill and run without worrying enemy face. For her assist, I would recommend Drawback to pull allies out of danger zone. Next, her special. You could stick to Draconic Aura for being cost efficient, or you could go with Moonbow or Luna. Now, let's look at her passives. In slot A, Swift Sparrow will remain unchanged, unless you decide to go YOLO and give her life and death. For passive in B, it also will remain the same. In the case that you chose Fire Sweep as a weapon, you could let her inherit Wings of Mercy or Escape Road instead. As for passive C, just keep Attack Smoke. Your allies will thank you for it. Sales recommendation? You might want to consider Hardy Bearing in some cases, or else it's rather flexible to be honest. Recommendation IV for Lyn? A plus speed would be the best, followed by plus attack. As for Bane, a minus resistance, then minus defense. Last, let's have a look at the most popular male character from the CYL event, the Brave Mercenary, Ike. A kind-hearted but stoic young man who has taken command of his father's mercenary band. He wields the axe of his father, Grey. Ike's base stats total is 162, slightly higher than the average infantry's. By adding in his weapons and his effect, the total rating would be at 178. Ike has the highest attack and defense among axe infantry at 36 and 35 respectively. He wields one of the regalias of Telios, Urvan. It gives the holder a plus 16 in attack and accelerate trigger count. Not only that, if he receives consecutive attacks, damage from the second attack onwards will be reduced by 80%. However, if Ike counters in between incoming attacks, it will be reset. Same as Brave Lucina, Ike has Eater as his special. For Ike, triggering this weapon will be an easy task by pairing it with his weapon and passive, which we will talk about right after this. Same as Brave Lyn, Ike also comes with 3 passive skills. Now, let's have a look at them. In slot A, Ike has a new passive called Steady Breath that grants him a plus 4 defense if he's being attacked. He also gains special cooldown charges if that happens. Like I mentioned earlier, with this skill, Ike could easily trigger his special every other turn. As for his passive in B, he has another new uninheritable skill, which is Bjork's Blessing. What this passive does is, it nullifies all bonuses on cavalries and flyers foes during combat. Basically, it's a counter for horse and flyer emblems. Lastly, in slot C, Ike has Threatened Defense. It inflicts a minus 5 defense penalty on foes within 2 spaces at the start of each turn. And since most of Ike's ability requires foes to attack first, it's a guarantee that they will fall under this skill. Ike's weakness is his low resistance to magic. In most cases, he might live for another day thanks to Urvan, but raid mages with Triangle Adept would still cause a lot of trouble to him. Next, let's look at some recommended skill to make the Brave Mercenary stronger. Same as Lyn, he's already complete on its own, so changes would be minimal. For his weapon, it will remain unchanged. As for his assist, you could give him reposition or drawback, but I would personally go for reposition for melees. Next, for his special, it's best to keep Eater so he could restore HP, and the cooldown charges is not something he should be worried about. Alternately, you could give him Bonfire. Now to his passive. For slot A, we will keep his default skill Steady Breath. However, if you would like him to be able to counter all distance, you could sacrifice a Hector for him. We won't be changing his passive in B, because that is his strongest trait. Lastly, for slot C, it's rather flexible. You could keep his default Threaten Defense, or give him any other skill that would benefit your team the most. How about Sales? It's also rather flexible. Either a plus attack or Quicken Pulse would be fine too. The recommended IV for Brave Ike, a plus defense would be the best, followed by resistance. As for Bane, it's best to have a minor speed. Conclusion: Choose Your Legend Brave Heroes is the strongest summoning banner intelligence system has ever released to date. The 4 heroes introduced were all first team material that will be heavily used by all players in all modes. However, 2 of them stood out slightly more than the others, mainly due to their uninheritable skills. But at the end, whichever one you choose, it will definitely make a great impact to your gaming experience. So, how many credit cards are you going to swipe? Who is your favorite among the 4? Let's discuss. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to Aki Gaming for more interesting content like this. You could also follow me on Twitter or leave a comment below for any feedback. Thank you for watching, and I wish you all the best on this banner.